This video will cover a number of ways to check and view the completeness of the program logic in Microsoft Project. Ensuring the completeness of the logic helps Microsoft Project calculate the duration of the program accurately. Obviously, this is in line with our aims as we build and use the program to give us a sensible idea of what we're expecting to happen, but it also reduces the likelihood of errors down the line when we need to track changes. When I say completeness of the program logic, I mean being sure that every task, apart from a few specific exclusions, have at least one other task coming before them and at least one other task coming after them. The specific exclusions to the completeness rule begin with the project start milestone. In the context of our program, the project start milestone comes before anything else, so we only need to consider what comes after it. Similarly, the project end milestone comes after everything else in the project, so in our program, we only need to think about what comes before it. Finally, we've got summary tasks. You may be aware by now that we use summary tasks to serve only as chapter headings that allow us to section the work appropriately. A summary task is like an overview of all the tasks that come under it. And whilst Project does allow you to add logic to summary tasks, we found doing so to be a very easy way to confuse critical path calculations and cause a lot of problems for the program. This presents enough of an issue that we avoid adding logic links to summary tasks altogether. It's cleaner and easier to coordinate the program logic using only non-summary tasks instead. Okay, so to control what tasks come before and after others, we use predecessor and successor logic links, and so this is the information we focus on when we're checking the completeness of the program logic. The best and quickest way to focus on this information is by checking the predecessor and successor columns in the task view. Switching to a daily view to help us see things a bit better, you can see how Microsoft Project only shows us the predecessor column by default. These are the tasks that in some way come before the task on the current row that you're looking at. With Microsoft hiding the successors column by default and leaving it as something that we need to find and add in ourselves, you may be unaware that we've actually got it there as an option. This alone makes logic gaps easier to miss or to forget about. So, first of all, if we're starting from the default setup, we need to add the successors column. To do this quickly, right-click any column heading and select Insert Column from the drop-down. Now, if you begin to type successors, you'll have the option we're looking for suggested to you, which saves you scrolling through the large list of options here. Press Enter once you see successors suggested or select it from the list and the column will be added to your program. It's a good idea to show the successor column as early as possible, ideally before you start adding tasks. That way, it helps you keep an eye on any missing logic as you go through building the program. You can see here now all the successor tasks attached to each task in the task view. Now, with this added in, the goal is to identify any gaps in the logic on non-summary tasks. Remember, we want to keep the predecessor and successor sections blank on summary tasks. Have the start milestone as the only task without a predecessor, and have the finish milestone be the only task without a successor. Looking at this program here, we can see that all the summary tasks, which I've highlighted in their own colour, are indeed blank as we're looking for. The predecessor column also looks good, only the start milestone is blank as we're looking for as well. But if we look at the successor column, on task 20 we can see that it's got a gap. This logic gap means that even though we've got a critical path showing here, the program cannot calculate correctly because it's missing information. When checking the completeness of program logic, if you're unable to quickly fix missing logic for whatever reason, highlighting it, just like how I'll do now in yellow, is useful to keep track of what still needs fixing when we return to it later. If you're unsure of which task you should assign as a successor in a case such as this, look for the major steps within the program. In the case of this program, we've got the commissioning stage. All of these streams of work should lead into commissioning, which then leads into the final handover process and so on. To show the effects of fixing this logic gap, I'll quickly create a baseline to take a snapshot of the program as it is right now before the fix. You can see the baseline snapshot displayed in black half bars on the Gantt. Adding the commissioning task as a successor to task 20, you can see straight away the difference in the completion date that occurs as a result. And this is just for one task with missing logic in a small program. Say you've got a program with hundreds or thousands of tasks in it. It doesn't take many tasks with missing logic to create a major effect on the program. This is another reason why taking the time to ensure the program logic is complete is likely to save you in the long run. If you've got a big program, you could scroll through it while keeping your eye out for blank predecessor and successor sections to check all of its tasks for gaps, but that will take a lot of time. A quicker alternative is to create and apply a filter that finds and displays only the tasks with areas of blank logic. To do this, we navigate to the View tab, click the drop-down next to the small funnel icon and the No Filter box. From the drop-down, select New Filter. In the dialog box that comes up, the first thing we'll do is name the new filter. I'll call it Missing Logic. Next, we need to tell Project that we want to filter to show only tasks with blank predecessor or successor boxes. On the first row here, under Field Name, we write and select Predecessors, and on the second row, we write and select Successors. The way Project finds the correct tasks to show using a filter is by running a test to see which tasks fulfill certain conditions that we define. In the Test column drop-down, you can see we've got a number of different tests we can do, but for our purposes here, we want to set this to equal for both rows. As we're looking for tasks that have had these areas left blank, we leave the Value column blank as well. Finally, on the second row in the And Or column, selecting Or from the drop-down tells the filter to include all of the results where one or both of the columns is blank, which is what we want. Leaving this as And instead would mean that only tasks where both predecessor and successor sections are blank would be shown, which would miss out the cases where only one of the columns is blank. Next, we want to select Save. To apply the filter, we click again on the drop-down next to the small filter icon. Then we select More Filters from the drop-down. Now you'll be given a list of all the available filters. Scroll down until you find the missing logic filter that we've saved, select it so that it's highlighted, and then click Apply. You'll now see all tasks which lack predecessors or successors, and you can correct the logic from here. Because we've already corrected the logic gap on task 20 that we had before, it doesn't appear in the filtered tasks. So if we undo the filter with Ctrl Z, remove the successor correction on task 20 we made earlier, and then filter for the missing logic again, you now get task 20 as a filtered result. Something of note is that you can clear or remove a filter by using the F3 key as a keyboard shortcut. Outside of this, you can go into the filter drop-down again and choose either No Filter or Clear Filter. A further option we've got if you don't want to filter is to highlight the tasks with missing logic instead. We can apply this by selecting the Highlight drop-down and then going to More Highlight Filters. We then scroll again through the list of options to the missing logic filter, and this time we select Highlight rather than Apply. You can see back on the program how the tasks are highlighted in yellow. Included within the highlight is the summary tasks, which is slightly less helpful, but it's also temporary, as we can clear the highlight whenever we choose using the F3 shortcut again, which returns the summary tasks to their previous colour. That means that you could do this after you make any fixes and keep the original summary task colours. Highlighting may be more helpful to you as you make corrections, as it allows you to still see the task IDs of the tasks you may be linking to fix any logic gaps. And that's it. Send us any questions or queries to JustAsk@menlo-academy.com and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. See you in the next one.